Today we're going to be looking at a new type of addition problem, and when we read this problem, just like every kind of problem, it's really important that we understand it first. And so in order to do that, we're going to read this problem and then annotate it carefully. So the problem says, a mother finch had 8 nuts in her nest. Next, a father finch brought some more nuts to the nest. Now there are 19 nests in the nest altogether. How many nuts did the father finch bring? So in order to understand this best, we want to annotate it carefully. So I'm going to start by looking at the important quantities in this question. So it says, a mother finch had 8 nuts in her nest. I know this 8 nuts in her nest is going to be important, so I'll underline it here. It says, next, a father finch brought some more nuts to the nest. Now this is important, but we don't know exactly how many more nuts he brought. So we're going to annotate this as well. We're going to put a box around the some more nuts, because we don't know exactly how many it is yet. And it says, now there are 19 nuts in the nest altogether. How many nuts did the father finch bring? So this last quantity here, this 19 nuts, is a known quantity. We know exactly how many there are altogether. So we'll underline that as well. So now we know that we start with 8 nuts, then the father brings some more, and this some more is our unknown quantity that we're trying to find. And then we have 19 nuts in the nest altogether by the end of it. So there are 2 different ways that we can represent this problem and that we can find our answer, and I'm going to show first the strategy of counting on. So with this one, what we do is we just represent from the beginning to the end. So first we have 8 nuts in the nest. So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, especially with this type of problem, it's really important that we label our diagram so that we remember which part of the problem each part of our diagram is talking about. So this will be the 8 nuts in the beginning. So now that we have our 8 nuts, we know that at the end there were 19 nuts after the father brought some more, but we don't know how many he brought. So one thing we can do is we can use the strategy of counting on and draw some more nuts until we get to the 19 that there are at the end. So let's try that. We have 8 already, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And now that we're at 19, we can stop. So these blue circles that we've drawn represent the nuts that the father brought. All right, nuts from father. And hopefully, if we did this all right, there should be 19 in the nest altogether. So we'll count one more time just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Perfect. So all together, these are the 19 nuts at the end. So now the only thing left for us to do is figure out, well, how many nuts did the father bring? And we can do that by just counting the blue circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So our answer here is that the father brought 11 nuts. Now, the other way that we can solve this problem is by separating the quantities. If we know that there are 19 in the nest altogether, we can start by drawing those 19 and then separating them into the ones that were there at the beginning and the ones that the father brought. So for this strategy, I'll start by drawing the 19. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now, these are our nuts at the end. And again, my labels help me make sure that each part of the problem is represented in my diagram. So these are our nuts at the end. So now we can separate them into the ones that we had at the beginning and afterwards. So again, referring to the problem, it says that there were 8 nuts in the nest at the beginning. So I can count out 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, let's take some from here. 5, 6, 7, 8. So this group of 8 right here, we're going to circle them. and then label them as nuts in the beginning. And so if these are the nuts in the beginning, and all of them are the nuts at the end, then these nuts that are left, well, those are the ones that the father brought. So we can circle those as well. And we'll label them nuts from the father. And if we count them all up, we'll know how many he brought. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Perfect. So this strategy had the same answer as this strategy as well. The last thing that we can do is we can represent this whole thing with an equation. And this helps to make sure that whatever our problem says is connected to a mathematical model. So our equation was that 8 plus something, we weren't sure.
Mr. Cassidy, ¿estás aquí en la escuela? Háblame los kids.
Right, well, let's finish our problem first. 8 plus something equals 19. And we figured out through our two different diagrams that this quantity that we were missing was 11. And there we have two different strategies of solving these types of problems. Have fun.